about to launch a live discussion about an inspiring nonprofit that delivers veterans from combat to comedy and other creative endeavors. I cannot wait to tell you about this. We have an amazing panel here today. Let's start with introductions. Brian Jenkins, the Executive Director of the Armed Services Arts Partnership, or ASAP. Robin Johnson, an Army veteran and very, very funny stand-up comic, and James Skank, PenFed's President and CEO, and not only an ASAP board member, but a huge supporter of this terrific organization. Let's start with you, Brian. Tell us all about the ASAP mission, what you do, and what you have personally seen in terms of its impact.
Yeah, so the Armed Services Arts Partnership helps veterans to thrive through community and the arts. What that actually means is that we teach classes in everything from stand-up comedy to improv, creative writing, storytelling, you name it, we have a class in it. And what's so special about this is that not only do veterans have the chance to come together with other individuals who've served and to learn valuable skills, but also we get to have a lot of fun doing it. If you come into our classrooms on any given weekend, they are filled with laughter and they're filled with connection. And what ends up happening is the people who graduate from ASAP classes have friendships that last for the rest of their lives.
I think that's a perfect transition to Robin Johnson, Army veteran turned stand-up comic. Tell us about the impact of ASAP on your life and give us a sense of that brotherhood, sisterhood once you become part of this cool community.
Well, I was transitioning after 26 years in the Army. Since I was 17, I did, my whole life, all I knew was the military. 5 deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq, 2 kids in the middle there, a husband who deployed 6 times, and just was exhausted and had no idea how to navigate that transition. And someone mentioned, well, have you ever thought about taking ASAP? Well, in the Army, it's alcohol, substance, and abuse program. So I was like, no, like I don't have a problem, really. But then I realized it was the Armed Services Arts Partnership, and I thought, well, storytelling seems fascinating. Let me start with storytelling because then I might be able to get a job if I can nail these behavioral, based interviews and tell my story of how that relates to civilian world. And then during storytelling, I realized every story I had was hilarious, and I wanted to make people laugh. And you spoke about the brotherhood or sisterhood. One of my brothers in storytelling said, "You're really funny. Have you ever thought about doing the comedy boot camp?" I said, well, maybe. And he said, if you could do anything, what superpower, like if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And I said, to heal people. He goes, you need to do the comedy. So that's what I ended up doing, and I fell in love.
That is just such a great way to characterize this awesome organization. Gave me goosebumps because I've witnessed it over the years, and not only the healing power, but the very medicinal power of laughter. Turning to James Skank, PenFed President and CEO. PenFed, if you are not familiar with us, is the nation's 2nd largest federal credit union. There are so many wonderful, worthy organizations to support. James, why ASAP? I know you're on the board now, but what is it that made you compelled to chair the What's Next campaign, which we'll talk about in a moment?
PenFed, for over 85 years, serves the men and women who go into harm's way to protect our freedoms and our way of life. Armed Services Arts Partnership has changed dramatically and for the positive the lives of the men and women who might have had a traumatic physical or mental injury. We've been at war for 19 years, and we cannot do enough to help those that are transitioning to what's next in their life. And through the arts, through comedy, through storytelling, I have seen lives positively transformed through ASAP's work.
I may have seen your life transformed as well, because I've seen you in the audience at least a couple of shows, and you get a really good laugh as an audience member. What is it like sitting there knowing those who served in uniform are now serving up great comedy, storytelling, improv?
It's unbelievable. The amount of talent we have in America's armed forces is limitless. And to go to their events and to feel their pain, to feel their excitement, but to see them excel and be so proud of what they're doing, I'm just proud I play a small part in being in the audience and laughing. As they say, laughter will keep you young. I feel very young when I'm at an ASAP event.
All right, good deal. Now, turning back to Brian, we're living socially distanced. By the way, just for the record, we took our masks off just for this live stream. We've had them on when we've interacted together, but you wanted to see our faces instead of masks. But, you know, we live in such strange times. But ASAP is among the many organizations that really have had to pivot quickly. And not only is this organization surviving, you're really thriving. Tell us what you did and the tremendous impact on veterans nationwide.
I think we all know how challenging this year has been, how challenging it's been for people worldwide, Americans, and also the military community in particular. But this also presented an opportunity for the ASAP community, where we shifted our classes from in-person to online. And when we did that, we were able to open it up to veterans around the world and across the country. And so we went from being historically a Mid-Atlantic organization. We're young, we're 5 years old. But in the age of COVID, we've been able to serve veterans in 35 states and 5 countries, including service members who are currently deployed in Baghdad. So it's been unbelievable to hear stories of the service member who's waking up at 2 in the morning in Baghdad to take a comedy class with us, and having an absolute blast becoming part of this community from wherever they are in the world. So we've tripled the number of programs that we're offering this year. We're reaching people around the world, and it's a huge honor to be able to increase what we're offering right now.
We are going to get to audience questions in just a moment, but please keep them coming in. We have a growing list here, and I want to learn more specifics about that. But first, Robin, where do you get your material? You are hilarious, and I'm afraid that this live stream may end up on stage at some point.
It may. You know, real life. We all have great stories. And when I say we, veterans have so many funny stories. I mean, just humor. You've all probably seen Humor in Uniform. But I just look at life experience, like real world. I have 2 kids. That's hours of content right there. And you know, and I think women veterans in particular need their stories to be told. So I really try to share things that are specific to my experience as a female veteran.
It was really interesting the other day. We were all on a group chat with a number of participants of ASAP. And people bonded just on that call. And I introduced 2 women who are veterans who work at PenFed to the group. And right away, everyone embraced them. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that kind of captivated you and drew you in.
You know, I did the storytelling course through ASAP in person. I did the comedy boot camp virtual. And I'll tell you, I had just as much connection on the virtual as I did in person. You would think there would be something lost, but what it did was it also allowed people from all over, a lot more diversity, and you really had to work at it. You know, you really had to make a commitment. And so we would, you know, tell each other, well, hey, let's connect later this week and go over your set, or let me workshop with you some of your material. And they honored their commitment. They were really dedicated, more than I can even ever imagine. And then, you know, I think there's something about just knowing that you're all veterans and there's that common bond. And for female veterans in particular, I feel like we have so many different experiences than our male counterparts, and so we can laugh and joke about those together. I mean, one of my famous, like I say the famous jokes, or my favorite jokes, is about doing a urinalysis test as a woman, you know, and having to pee, and like the concept of having to go to the bathroom in front of somebody else when I was a brand new lieutenant, it just was astounding. I couldn't believe I had to do it. So.
All right, Robin, that's a tough act to follow, James. But James, I want to talk a little bit about your military experience. You're a West Point grad, went on to Harvard Business School, but in the Army, you were a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. Tell us a little bit more about your military experience and what you bring, or what that brings to PenFed as a military-friendly employer, which allows us to support great organizations like ASAP.
I guess what I really took away from my military experience is teamwork and people helping people. So the credit union industry thrives on helping others do better financially, but it really is community-based. People that really reach out to lift up other people. And during my military career, when I was a helicopter pilot, I realized at a very young age, it didn't matter what color you were, what your social economic background were, what your gender was. People that were willing to roll up their sleeves and help one another be successful get along really well. So there's an amazing bond within the military, within the veteran community, within military families. And so that's what I'm most proud of, trying to bring that culture into PenFed, that men and women who are kind, respectful for one another, that innovate, collaborate, have a high level of integrity, but most important, share this common bond of service. And it's not only service to the nation, it's service to one another. And I feel that at ASAP. And that's why PenFed is so proud with our 2,700 employees and our 2.1 million members. It's just that feeling of doing what's right. And to see a triple amputee on stage, talking about, where his socks are in the dryer and, not needing his sock every day and sharing with the guy who lost his left leg. You can't make this stuff up. But how they lift each other up in bond and through their humor can get through some very tough mental and physical challenges. That's why we're here.
And I've loved that if you're in the DC area in Logan Circle Park, there have been 2 ASAP shows, so have I. And everyone said it's so good to be out. And the audience, there were some people who came for the show, others just happened to be in the park.
Can I talk about this for 1 second?
Yeah, please.
You show up in our Nation Center, people are, invited to come to the show, but what's amazing is once the show starts, people walk in by from all walks of life, they see something's going on. They feel the excitement, they hear the laughter, and the crowd grows. And it's socially distanced, don't get me wrong with the crowd, but it's outside in a park, but watching male entertainers, female entertainers, veterans come together in the community. You look across that park and you see community from young kids to grandparents to men and women in wheelchairs and everything in between. That's what America's all about, and ASAP and the veterans make it happen.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to get to some of your questions now. We're going to start with Brian. I'm going to consolidate them because there are so many questions about how can I get involved? Do I have to be a veteran? Is there a cost? Is comedy the only artistic endeavor you offer? I know the answers to some of these questions as a longtime proud ASAP ambassador.
No doubt.
However, you're the one who's going to field these questions.
So if someone is a service member, veteran, military family member, or a caregiver, they are all welcome to participate in ASAP classes, and all of our classes are entirely free. So we welcome anyone in the military community to apply to our classes and get involved. As far as what we offer, our 6-week-long classes are in several different art forms: comedy, acting, storytelling, improv, creative writing, drawing, painting, and more. And they can learn more at our website, asap.org. They can fill out an application and we'll invite them to take one of our classes. But one thing I will note is that, as Robin said, it does take some dedication. When you take a class with ASAP, you're signing up to truly dive into an art form and really learn and get together and commit to what you're learning.
Robin, I want to get a sense from you how terrifying it was to be a longtime Army veteran who held a series of very responsible, serious positions, to go on stage or to go to a class signing up to learn comedy. I would find that very daunting.
Well, when I was in the service, I would get in a lot of trouble sometimes for things that would come out of my mouth. So
you were a natural,
I was
basically.
kind of always that spunky one that had a lot of jokes. But to do it on a stage where you could speak freely, for the most part, there's some general guidelines that I've had to work really hard not to violate. But my heart was in my throat, and I was the last person to perform. And I thought, I don't know if I can do, I almost got stage fright, and I thought, oh my gosh, you've been through 5 deployments, get your butt up there and just do it. And actually the audience was so forgiving and kind. My microphone kept sliding down, and I didn't even think, should I fix the microphone? So then I just kept dropping myself to the microphone's level. It was hilarious.
It was a little bit funny.
It was a little bit funny, a little bit. And afterwards I was like, why didn't I just fix the microphone? But yeah.
Great.
I've noticed with great admiration, I know 2 ASAP alumni, Mike Garvey and Mike Carasquillo, both of whom perform with their service dogs. Quick shout out to Ace, who is sound asleep, Ace of America's Vet Dogs, another great veterans nonprofit. If you saw me fiddling here, he was kind of a little too tight on that leash. But let's turn to James now. The classes are free to veterans, military spouses, military family members, and that's a wonderful thing, but it's free because of the kindness and generosity of donors like you. And James is spearheading what's known as the What's Next campaign. Tell us about what all of the audience listening now can do to ensure more people like Robin get trained.
Absolutely. First of all, it takes resources. And since I was a very young man, I respected my mom so much. And she always told me, many hands make the load light. So if everybody gives a little, we can have a very positive and massive impact on the good work that ASAP does. So everybody that's listening today, and we're reaching out to our 2.1 million members, I tell everybody I come in contact with asap.org. It's their website. You can see great comedy, great storytelling, great musicians there. But just click front and center on the donate link. And whether it's $5 or $5,000, individuals and corporations can all be part of making a difference in the lives of the men and women who fought for our freedoms.
And having witnessed ASAP's work for so many years now, I can assure you that ASAP and all that it offers, including the community, it saves lives. It doesn't just
Positively.
improve lives, it saves lives. Brian, can you tell us a little bit more about what you've witnessed firsthand? And I thought you all sent out a very compelling email today about a veteran in San Diego who wants to take a course. You know, another veteran wants to take a different course, but that is up to you to donate what you can.
It's such a great question, and right before I answer it, I do wanted to say that the leadership that James and PenFed have shown, especially during this season just after Veterans Day, where we're raising funds for next year, it's really been unbelievable. Leadership matters.
It
and
does.
so for James and PenFed and for you, Andrea, to step out in front and to say that this matters, that we want to serve our veterans and our military families.
In fact, I believe this matters now more than ever.
Yeah, it
So,
does.
and I never want people to feel like, oh, I don't have much to give. $5 is okay.
It makes a huge difference.
You know, if
for us.
1,000 people donate $5, we're really happy about that.
Exactly, and we are absolutely thrilled by that. And so PenFed's 2.1 million members received an email this morning from James inviting them to support us. And we can't say how meaningful that is for us and our community. And it's not just the staff that cares, our community of veterans care. You know, people who've gone through our classes, they sincerely desire that more veterans are brought into the fold. That's why Robin is here sharing her story. And so we're just so grateful for that support. And one reason why we're so grateful is because of the things that we see firsthand. You know, the stories that we hear of people who have gained really sincere resilience by taking our classes. So whether somebody is looking for a new sense of purpose after the military or is looking for a community to belong in, they can do it with ASAP.
And Robin, you can, to participate, my understanding, you may defer back to Brian if you need to, you can be literally anywhere in the world to sign up for a class now. The blessing and curse of COVID is it's really prompted ASAP to spread its wings and make courses available virtually everywhere.
Yes, Brian and I spoke about this after I took the comedy boot camp. I said, we've got to get this bigger. We've got to reach more veterans. I lost a really good friend this year to suicide. And sorry, but I not get choked up.
I'm
but,
so sorry.
And many in the past. And we have to do more. And I feel like this is so powerful. It's too big to just stay in the National Capital Region. This should be everywhere because it's proven. I mean, it works. I mean, I just transitioned. I mentioned it was difficult, but when you leave the military after that many years, and I was transitioning during COVID, and I didn't really care about not having a ceremony, or if I still don't have my retirement certificate. Like,
wow.
There was nothing. It was like, no, thank you for. It was just one day I was not in the Army anymore. But what was cool was my ASAP comedy boot camp class made it a big deal, and they celebrated with me on one of our Sunday classes, and they were like, congratulations, and they had little signs. It was really nice. So I felt like somebody cared that my service was complete.
We care. Congratulations. So. I did not realize that was happening, and that's tough. It's one more challenge for those of you who are transitioning. What's been your experience in the specific classes? You've taken storytelling. Is there a limit on how many you can take?
There's not.
Amazing. So storytelling? And then you took comedy. Have you taken anything else?
That's it.
Give us a sense of the class size.
Oh, in storytelling, I think there was 12, and in comedy boot camp, I think we started with a little bit more than that, and then a couple people also ended up being about 10. So they're
so
smaller.
It's small enough that you're among family.
Yeah.
And it's not that intimidating.
It's not at all. You get all eras too. So you have currently serving, you have people who just separated. You have, I mean, we even had a guy who was a Vietnam era veteran in our storytelling class, which was so cool. I mean, I would have never met him otherwise, and to hear his stories was really inspiring. And you get to meet all services. So even though I'm Army, most of my cohort for comedy was Navy. But we love them too, except for...
I also like seeing you and a lot of other women veterans bonding. I mean, you're side by side with them from different branches of service, but I'm sure they're similar experiences.
Well, so, you know, I work as the Chief of Staff at the Military Women's Memorial, so it's near and dear to my heart to tell their stories. I definitely feel of the 3 million women that have served, our voices aren't always heard. And so I'm really committed to, like, how do I take the storytelling skills and the comedy skills to make the public aware of our stories and their uniqueness. And Brian, I think, like, one of the things I really loved is, like, one of my questions when I was leaving the Army was, how do I connect to my community? How do I connect to these non-military affiliated, they know anything? One of the jokes I used in my set is I told my neighbor, I said, oh, I'm in transition. And she looked at me, she goes, oh, congratulations, to male or female? And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people that don't know anything about the military. So.
Oh my goodness. You see, you get performers like Robin. Once again, James, this seating was random, but Robin's a tough act to follow. Any other thoughts as we wrap up here on one thing I really love about working at PenFed Credit Union is we are a military-friendly employer. There are so many veterans, again, from all branches of service. Everyone we've introduced to ASAP says, I think I'm going to sign up for a class, and I can see why. But tell us about what is so unique about those with a military background, not just comedy, but the storytelling, the work ethic. Why do you seek to hire people who are from the military?
They accomplished the mission. So at PenFed, our number one thing is the safety and wellness of our employees. That's embedded day one from private to general officer. You take care of those around you. And second, you accomplish the mission in all circumstances. There's not a way not to go from point A to point B. You're going to get there, you'll figure it out. And people are very innovative in the military. They work together, they roll up their sleeves together, and they look out for one another. And that's what life is all about. But when you get involved with the military and get involved with ASAP, I like to say, you sleep well at night. When you lift up somebody else, when you help somebody else, when you cover each other's back, you all sleep well, and it's a great place to be.
And James, you're a board member, but I really feel like to get the ASAP experience, you should take a class. And I'm thinking, what would be your gut reaction? Would you take storytelling, stand-up comedy, improv, there's poetry, drawing, and what did I miss? Painting. What was the last one? Acting.
I think you can grow in all of them. I think I would probably do comedy. I like making people laugh. I just like when people are happy, and when you reach out to make somebody have a life a little bit better. And like you say, in the military, we've had a lot of suicides this past year. There's a lot that be gained through comedy and through the arts. So sign up for all of them. I'm definitely willing to try a few if Brian will let me. But as a board member, what we're so proud of is to hire really amazing folks. And I can tell you, ASAP is absolutely honored to have Brian Jenkins leading. He took over a few months before COVID, and his focus, his strategy, and his ability to help more veterans this year than ever really makes a difference, and we're very proud of PenFed to support him and his team.
And what I've witnessed straddling both organizations is that PenFed, ASAP could have just sort of curled up during this pandemic.
Down. We are moving forward.
We are both expanding, and I love that.
It wasn't even a question.
It wasn't. And Brian, I want to close with you. Well, a few points first. Is committing to a comedy course during a live stream a binding agreement? I would say yes.
Yes.
I would say yes. So James, you better get to their website, asap.org, and sign up for your very first stand-up comedy course. I would pay big money to see him do stand-up comedy on stage, but I do think you'd be very good at it.
I agree.
Secondly, I heard you, I've always told the ASAP participants that I wish I had served in the military because, for many reasons, but one of them is so I could be a part of ASAP. And you said military family. I'm an Air Force brat. Does that qualify me?
It does.
All right, not comedy. Not comedy. Maybe storytelling. And finally, I'd like to close with you by asking what performances are coming up. I know there was a time where every Friday night, I would go to my computer. I'd already binged on Netflix and Amazon, and I would go to my computer to see one of your shows. What can this audience see to represent ASAP, virtually and in person?
Just as much as all of our classes are online and accessible anywhere, our performances are right now as well.
Great.
So we are actually finishing up fall classes right now. There's a show tonight for storytelling.
Oh,
there are more
good.
shows the rest of this week.
Wait, what time tonight? Eastern time?
8 p.m. Eastern time.
I'm completely watching.
Amazing.
That is fantastic.
So if anybody wants to tune into our upcoming shows or curious about what's going on, go to asap.org. There's a performances tab, and you can click attend a show, and you'll find out more information there.
Fantastic. Brian Jenkins, Executive Director of the Armed Services Arts Partnership. Remember, ASAP, asap.org. Robin Johnson, Army veteran, hilarious stand-up comic. When's your next performance?
I don't know. I have to talk to Brian about that.
It might be tonight at 8. No. And James Skank, PenFed President and CEO and board member of ASAP and the chairman of the current What's Next campaign. Please, 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 whether it's $5 or $5,000, consider donating. Our veterans have served us. It's time for us to serve them. And what greater way to do it? Thank you for joining us. The ASAP team and James will be available online if you have questions. Just go to our collective Facebook pages. Thanks for